Wonders shall never end indeed, my people, because what is happening in the palace today smacks of wonders indeed. Who would have ever imagined that peace would sit again in the palace of the great lion? Who would have ever imagined that? What happened next silenced enemies, unsettled watchers, and changed the spiritual climate of the throne forever. You better sit tight to enjoy this unfolding story because no one saw this coming at this time and so fast. There's a new air in the palace of the great lion indeed, not the loud kind, not the celebratory kind, but the quiet kind that comes when storms finally pass and everyone is afraid to breathe too hard, just in case the peace disappears. Yes, so only days ago, my people, just few days ago here, this will have sounded almost impossible. Yes, so this thing when I want to talk is it will have been people will have said, "Come on, you are crazy to even suggest this." It was something that nobody saw coming. Confessions were still fresh. Wounds, were still open. Trust was still very fragile just few days ago. And the idea that the wives of the great lion will sit together peacefully, including even the jewel, I mean, this just felt like something people will only talk about in hindsight, not something they will witness in real time. Because what will happen, you say, it is unbelievable, say, the wives, I'm not even talking about the jewel now, just the wives as them did here, say, all of them will agree to come for a peaceful meeting. They happen. It has not happened for the longest of time, except maybe the meetings called by the great lion. But this one when they talk to her, in fact, not that the other wives were just there, the jewel they their middle there gone. Yes, the meeting of the wives happening with the jewel right in their middle for the first time. Who would have thought this would happen? And the idea that the wives of the great lion will sit together peacefully, discussing peacefully, of course, that nobody saw that coming. But yet, my people, now waiting, they say, palace insiders say, it happened for the palace. They said this meeting went on quietly, emotionally, and in a way that shook both friends and hidden enemies in and around the palace. So they said the Jewel had suffered deeply, right? You and I know that, of course, Jewel don't suffer for Ebony hand. Not just for Ebony hand, she don't suffer from even the great lion. Not be today matter. So they said everyone knew about this, even the wives that were seated, even those who pretended not to. So they say her absence from gatherings, had become normal in the past, which is true. Of course, you don't expect the great Jewel to be having meetings with people who don't have good intentions for her. That is why it was almost impossible that she could ever be in the middle of the other wives. So they say her silence had become expected in the past because over time people adjusted to a palace reality where she was physically absent or present but socially distant. Trust had been broken in the past. Trust had been so broken that words could not easily repair in the past when it comes to the jewel. You cannot find jewels sitting together with these other wives. They happen. So they said it was Blue Blue, who finally asked the great lion for permission to call for a meeting. So this whole meeting thing, they said now Blue Blue, now him talk to the great lion, say, okay, let us call for this meeting. Not for a show, not for a ceremony, a real meeting. They said, now what you Blue Blue talk with? So she told the great lion that things could not continue the way they were. That surface calm was not peace. That unresolved tension was dangerous for the palace. That the palace needed healing, not pretending. And who will even believe say Blue Blue of all people, will even be the one, canvassing for this kind of meeting. That's why I'm saying that the kind of calm that is coming to the palace, in fact, this is what we have always, wanted. So they said she canvassed for it, and the great lion listened to her, and he agreed that that meeting should be called. That was what prompted the coming of the jewel in that gathering. They say Blue Blow also did not just act alone. Dr. Sapphire stood with her. I know that when it comes to stuff like this, Dr. Sapphire will always be there. So they said together they reached out to the jewel. So many people doubted if that will ever work. But like you are hearing from me now, through the support of the great lion himself, they were able to convince the jewel, and she did attend it. Okay? Don't forget, the invitations have been extended to her in the past, but she know they go, and rightly so, because the place was too chaotic, for her to have been able to attend any meeting with any of them. But today, everyone can see the change happening right in the palace. So they said the jewel had always declined past invitation, but this time she listened. She did not rush. She waited, and then quietly she said yes, and she attended. That yes alone changed everything in the palace because a lot of people never saw that coming as well. So when this jewel arrived and sat down with them, the atmosphere shifted instantly. Some people felt relief, some felt fear, some felt shame. That kind of thing now, that kind of shame. Somebody when you say you don't want me to get business, all of a sudden, in don't come they your midst. So it was the first time she had sat with them like that. No arguments, no confrontation, just her majestic self in a in a quiet ambience, just relaxed, and her presence, according to palace insiders, was well felt. The meeting did not begin with speeches, it began with silence. Then slowly words came, painful words, honest words. They spoke about disappointment, about mistakes that each of them have made in the past, about wounds that were never addressed, and about how the jewel had suffered and how her silence did not mean she was untouched. So they said tears flowed freely. This was not acting according to palace insiders. They said, now so, they are women and they're emotional people. So they said, now so all of them, everybody went emotional, their tears flowed freely, and according to the palace insider, they said this was not strategy by anybody. This was happening organically. Okay? And at the end of the day, it looks like fresh air, finally coming to the palace. Okay? So together, they said they all apologized to the jewel. Not one voice, all of them. They apologized. They begged her for forgiveness, not because they felt entitled to it, but because peace was needed. And it's looking apparent that peace has come to stay, eternally in the palace, once and for all. So they admitted that they had ridiculed the great lion enough and wanted him to rest. Honestly, the great lion does suffer for this women hand, not be small. And the man has been extremely patient. And I think kudos to him for being able to hold on up to this time. So they said they wanted to leave as sisters, even if trust would take time, to be able to achieve, but they want to live as sisters. That's the words that each and every one of them, spoke in this meeting. Then Ebony spoke again. This time they say no pride, oh, no excuses, just a plea. And the others joined her, begging the jewel to forgive Ebony as well. Me, I know say this will not go happen overnight, but this is what Ebony did, and she had to just do that. So they said after the meeting, they said they're so full, they can't serve food. Oh, can you imagine? They can't serve food. This was the moment that terrified hidden enemies. Yes, oh, because meetings, can be staged, but shared meals seal covenants. When they serve food for place, that thing they seal covenants. So this is really a big deal. And this is what the aspect that surprised and shocked a lot of people, according to palace insiders. So they say they went around with garden egg, when it reached the turn of the jewel, they said she picked one and held it. She did not eat it. Yes. Then granite came also. She picked some. She held it as well. She did not eat also. The main meal came as well. She took some and held it. Everyone noticed what the jewel did. Nobody pressured her because for just being in that gathering alone is enough. They told her gently that her presence was enough, that her boundaries were respected. And in that moment, they say something shifted spiritually. Yes, now. Now, Queen Naomi did that gathering, so something spiritual must shift. So those who understand these things knew exactly what happened. She did not eat, but she accepted the space. She accepted the conversations. She accepted the meeting. That alone broke many things that had stood against the peace for a very long time now. And this can only be God, I tell you, my people. They say, so hidden enemies felt exposed. Those who fed on division, they say they felt uneasy thereafter. A peaceful gathering they swore would never happen had happened right before everybody's eye. Like I said, I say, even me, I not believe, say, all of a sudden, all these things when they happen, so now within few days, oh, you know, it don't even reach 1 week. From confessions to this, from this to this, and this is where we are. Nobody saw this coming, I tell you. Not even me doing this video. And as if to add to seal this thing more spiritually, they said Reverend Esther Jaina came in towards the end of their meeting. They said she came in not to entertain, not to observe, but to seal. Yes, now. They said she prayed for lasting peace. She prayed against jealousy. She prayed that no enemy would, penetrate the unity that has just been formed. She prayed that what was sealed in humility would not be reopened by pride. It became clear that this gathering was not just reconciliation, it was spiritual closure. A door was shut, a season ended. Yes, so not perfection, not instant trust, but a beginning. For the first time in a long time, the palace felt something it had forgotten: peace. Peace has eluded the palace for almost forever now, and one person, Ebony, has been at the center of the chaos, the instability, that has ravaged the palace before now. But like I said in my previous video, I want to just give God the glory. I want to thank the God, of the jewel. I want to thank God because at the end of the day, this is prayer for the jewel. Because the palace need peace. Yes, because peace does not arrive with noise. It arrives with courage, humility, and truth. And that is exactly what we have just witnessed by virtue of that gathering. And I'm so glad that no other person but the spiritually filled Reverend Esther Jayi, who came at the end to spiritually seal that closure. This can only be God, like I said. So this is the story that came out, and I wasn't in a position to do these stories few yesterday and 2 days ago, but I had to just do them now. Once again, I want to apologize that I've been unavoidably absent for some days from the social media. I'm running a program now that is taking much of my time, but I assure you, I will always come here to drop what I think is important for me to drop to you guys because I love you guys so, so much. But like I always say, don't forget, this narration is shared for reflection, growth, and healing purposes, not for accusation. Okay? Don't forget, this is Awake Africa, and I hope to meet you at the comment section. And hopefully, we'll take this conversation much further. God bless you. I'll be right back. Bye bye.